Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Council. Based on the journey so far, we just concluded the presidential and House of Assembly election in Nigeria and that of representatives, House of Representatives. I want you to score INEC. How would you score the activities of INEC? Because it's like we brought this democracy, we brought this type of government we are into from United States of America. I don't think that we have done enough. We have not imbibed everything into what we are doing. Then how would you now score INEC over the journey so far?
Well, from my own standpoint, I think that INEC as an institution is trying as much as possible to live up to people's expectation of it. So as an institution, INEC is trying to live up to people's expectation. This is evident from the number of reforms it has carried out. Initially, we used to have a temporary voters card, but today we have permanent voters card. Today we now have this process to some extent has been digitized. You will also find out that there is introduction of card readers and all other things. The issue of incidence form to some extent, has been eliminated. So as an institution, INEC is trying its best to make sure that it lives up to people's expectation of it. But on the other hand, you find out that the politicians are equally trying their best to make sure that they compromise INEC. And that's where the conflict is. INEC as an institution is trying to do well. Politicians, because of their selfish interests, are trying as much as possible to make sure that INEC failed to live up to people's expectation of it. So you find out that those who are actually in control of the appointment of the officials of INEC are actually appointed by these politicians. Because you find out that, of course, the president who recommends and who appoints, in most cases, the president will belong to a political party. And if you are using the just concluded presidential election as a yardstick, you find out that the president himself contested the election. So you find out that they exploit all the loopholes in the body, in the law establishing INEC to make sure that they influenced INEC to their own advantage. So they take the advantage of the loopholes in the law to compel INEC or to make INEC to carry out their unlawful biddings. So the question is this. INEC is trying to do what is proper, but the politicians are doing everything possible to compromise them. And as I stated before, serious effort must be made to ensure that the electoral law in Nigeria, the Electoral Act, as well as the provisions of the Constitution that makes provision with respect to the establishment of INEC, that they are legit, that they are reformed and amended to block and cover up all those loopholes so that the politicians will no longer have opportunity to influence the activities and the actions of the INEC. And until this is done, they will continue to take advantage of that. So my call is that the Electoral Act and the relevant provisions of the Constitution shall be amended to cover those loopholes so that politicians will no longer take advantage of those provisions to manipulate and to influence INEC and its officials. Thank you.
Thank you, Council of Visiting Citizens and the Law on ABS Television, Channel 2 for Oka, on Star Times 113 and Metro Digital 29. And in the studio here with me, addressing the topic, is Barrister Chika Okeke, and he's doing very well. Just before we continue, let's take a short break here. Yeah, thank you. Welcome back, dear esteemed viewer. Council, I want to ask you another question. This time I'm coming down to Anambra State level. Maybe some other states are equally doing the same thing, because the State Assembly election is coming up on Saturday in Anambra State, where I belong and where you also belong. I now ask you this question: what advice would you give to INEC, party members, and the electorate, including the youth, in this forthcoming Saturday's election that has to do with the State Assembly?
Well, as the governorship and the House of Assembly elections of various states approach, let me start by saying that election is not war, and we must understand it to that extent. This is very important because in most cases, people always look at elections as war. They view it as a conflict, something like a must-win battle, and in a bid to ensure that they come out victorious at the end of the day, they engage into all manner of unlawful activities. So as another round of election approaches, my general advice to all the stakeholders, all the key stakeholders in this forthcoming governorship and House of Assembly's elections, my general advice is that all the key stakeholders, from INEC to the contestants and to the voters themselves, that they should go out and, as much as possible, try to elect a candidate of their choice. In Anambra State, for example, I call upon all the voters, especially the youth, who are always at the receiving end of this violence. In most cases, politicians may use the younger ones, the youth, to cause trouble during elections. So I am calling on everybody to try as much as possible to ensure that they do not embark upon any action that will lead to violence during these forthcoming elections. People should go out and vote a candidate of their choice, and at the same time, I am calling upon the body responsible for the organization of the election, referring to INEC, to try as much as possible to see that they play within the rules, to ensure that they comply with the Electoral Act as well as the provisions of the Constitution, because in most cases you find out what always leads to all these violent actions is where the umpires, when they begin to compromise their position. So I equally call upon them to try as much as possible to play by the rules. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Council. A lot of people have started calling even without my asking them to do so. The number to call is 090-729-72090. I call it again, 090-729-72090. The other one is 070-627-24192. 070-627-24192. So these are the numbers to call. If you have any question you want to ask the lawyer, you are free to do so from now. We have the first caller here. Hello? 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 We're not getting the voice. Okay, Council, can you comment on the political pulse of Nigerians? vis-a-vis the franchise and the disenfranchisement. People want to decide their franchise. Do they have their way? Any impediment? How would you? Hello? Hello? We're not getting your voice at all. We're not hearing anything. And that might be a network problem. Please, you have to call again. Can you comment on political pulse of Nigerians vis-a-vis franchise and the disenfranchisement?
Well, the right to vote is one of the basic or the fundamental rights of every Nigerian citizen who has come of age, if the person has no form of legal impediment. So every Nigerian citizen who has complied...
Let's get this caller. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, your name and location.
Hello?
Your name and location.
I am Mesoma.
Yeah, Mesoma, what do you want to ask? Go ahead, Counsel.
So as I was saying before, the right to vote is a basic and fundamental right of every Nigerian citizen who has come of age, if the person suffers no form of legal impediment. So it's a very serious issue. It is so fundamental that no one can be deprived of this life without recourse to judicial process. So it's a very serious right of Nigerian citizens. But you find out that in most cases, people are disenfranchised in Nigeria. Politicians will do all manner of things to ensure that Nigerian citizens are disenfranchised just because of their selfish aims. There are so many ways of stopping people from exercising their basic right to vote during national elections. In most cases, you find out that the body responsible for organization of election in Nigeria, the INEC, they will deliberately, in most cases, try to disenfranchise some people who are qualified to vote in Nigeria by, for instance, withholding their voters' card, their PVCs. There is a form of disenfranchisement, because without your PVC, you cannot vote. So where INEC withholds, deliberately withholds your PVC, you have already been disenfranchised, even before the commencement of the election. Then another form of disenfranchisement that we usually witness in Nigeria is the situation whereby an area will be too militarized, so that people will no longer be free to go and cast their votes. We find out that there will be soldiers everywhere, and people are afraid of being caught by stray bullet or things like that. Is another form of disenfranchisement. Then some other form of disenfranchisement which our politicians normally use.
Let's get this caller. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Your name and location, please.
My name is Onyeka. I'm calling from Ogidi.
Onyeka?
Yes, I'm calling from Ogidi.
Okay, Onyeka, go ahead and ask a question or make your contribution.
Okay, last election, I was surprised because I have my voter's card. When I go to the post where I'm supposed to be do the voting, unfortunately, my card, the card that print my card, everything was okay. But my name was not in the list. I could not see my name, I couldn't see my photograph, so I couldn't be able to vote. They stopped me from voting. So I don't understand. How do you manage that?
Well, the lawyer is here to address the question. Lawyer, you heard him? You heard him?
Yes, of course, I heard him. You know, as I was saying, there are all manner of ways of disenfranchising Nigerian citizens. And this is one of the ways, the means of disenfranchising people. You find out that where your name is not on voters' register, whether you have your PVC or not, you will not be allowed to vote, merely because your name is not there. So the fault is not with the voter, but with INEC. And that's what I mean, that in most cases, INEC deliberately disenfranchise Nigerians by not doing everything which they ought to do. And this is very bad. They must do everything they ought to do to ensure that every Nigerian citizen who is willing and ready to vote are allowed to cast their vote. The complaint that the caller just made is not peculiar to him. So many other Nigerians witnessed the same thing. They were not happy. They have done everything that they were expected to do, only for them to discover that their names are not in the voters' register. And it's very bad. So I'm calling upon INEC to do everything possible to make sure that issues like this are properly addressed. And then back to what I was saying before. You find out that in most cases, politicians will go and stir up violence in an area, so that at the end of the day, people will no longer be free to come out and vote. Is another form of disenfranchisement. We all witnessed what happened in Lagos during the just concluded presidential elections, where there are all manner of threats, all manner of fears instilled in people, and so people are no longer free to come out and exercise their franchise. And I can assure you that in view of what happened during the presidential elections, a lot of people in states like Rivers State and in Lagos and some other states may not be free to come out and exercise their right to vote. And that is very bad. And then another way of disenfranchising people is where there is no adequate communications with respect to letting people know how to do the election proper. You find out that, especially with respect to the just concluded elections, the voters' education was very poor. Most people that came out to vote, most of them didn't know what to do, and that's another form of disenfranchisement. So I'm calling upon INEC to do everything possible to make sure that voters' education is properly carried out, so that before the election, people will know everything, how they are going to vote at the polling units and all that, so that people will not come out to vote and be stranded because they do not know what to do. So as I was saying, there are all manner of disenfranchisement in Nigeria with respect to citizens' participation in the election. It is their basic right, it is their fundamental right, and no one should try to deprive them of these, their basic rights. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Councillor, I want to come back to something that is very, very basic, very important. What do you think ethnicity and religion has done in whatever way you look at Nigerian politics, whatever you look at the electoral system, and all was not? What do you think this is my religion and this is my tribe has done to Nigerians in their political development vis-a-vis the electoral system?
You find out that in most cases, it is believed that election in Nigeria is very competitive. That's the view out there. But this impression or view that elections in Nigeria are highly competitive is actually is misguided. This is so because the competition with respect to elections in Nigeria is actually between various tribes in Nigeria. So in the real sense of it, it is not a competition between the contestants. It is not the competition between the candidates. It is the competition between the various ethnic groups in Nigeria. So you find out that in most cases, the only edge you may have against your co-contestants is the fact that you belong to a particular ethnic group. And so you find out that issue of...
Let's get this caller. Hello? Go ahead.
So you find out that issue of ethnicity had prayed, is praying, and if care is not taken, it will continue to play a major role in Nigeria politics. Because your membership of a particular ethnic group, to some extent, has guaranteed you whether you will win the election or not. If you belong to a major ethnic group in Nigeria, you can be less assured that at the end of the day, you may be declared the winner of the election. You may win the election. Not on the basis of your character, not on the basis of what you have to offer, but merely on the basis of the fact that you belong to a particular ethnic group. And this is very bad. It is not only with respect to ethnic groups. It's the same thing applies with respect to issue of religion. You find out that the fact that you belong to a particular denomination, a particular religious group, will determine your chance in the election.
Let's get this caller. Hello? 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 Hello, your name? Yeah, good evening. Your name and location? Your name and location. Tune down the volume of your TV sets. We can hear you. Chisom is your name? We are not hearing you. The network is bad. Please, you may have to call back again. And if you are calling us, try to tune down the volume of your TV set, and that will enable us to hear you very clearly. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, hello. Your name and location?
Yeah, my name is Martin, calling from Oka.
Martin.
Martin, calling from Oka.
Okay, Martin's from Oka. Go ahead and ask your question or make your contribution.
Yeah, please. I want to ask the lawyer. I want to ask him concerning the ethics, concerning this forthcoming election. What are the things, or what are the recommendations, or what are the plans, or what are the necessary procedures you are trying to tell the people of Anambra? Because he's talking about youth, about the enfranchisement. Which I think some people, they are not highly inclined when it comes to the educational sector. So I think, or I should ask him, maybe if it is going to be possible, they should put more focus on the INEC. You understand? If there is something, it's not about we calling or making calls, no. It's not about we coming out in group or enlightening the INEC on what to do in this upcoming election, because if it's considering the past election, the respect to the past election that has been done, we Nigerians we know the truth, but due to INEC and political parties, we know what is going on, but all Nigerians will keep quiet. So I'm thinking, or we Nigerians will try as much as we can to come out and focus more on the INEC. We need to this Anambra INEC. We need to tell them, because in my community, during this past election, this issue of card readers, it didn't favor any of us. And I have a video here that was this northern eastern region, what they did. One person was busy concentrating some think that it is something that is being normal. Some preaching, which is absolutely wrong. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So we should try as much as we can to, I think, eradicate the ignorance that is killing in Nigerians here. Most especially the people of Anambra are also focus more on this issue of INEC. They should try and educate the poor masses, educate them on what is going on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Martins, from Oka. So you heard him very clearly.
Yes, of course.
What's your take on
well,
this?
It was...
He asked a question and also made a...
It was part of what I stated earlier.
Yeah.
It is a form of disenfranchisement. Issue pertaining to voters' education is very, very important. Because people must be enlightened with respect to how to carry out the actual voting. Because if you have a voter's card, your PVC, you come out to vote, but at the end of the day, you did not vote merely because you do not know what to do, or merely because the facilities which INEC is using to conduct the election, like the card leaders, or your name is not found in the voters' register, is very unfortunate. And as I stated before, INEC must try to do something very serious to make sure that some of these lapses that were witnessed during the last election, that they are not repeated in this forthcoming election.
Go ahead, continue.
That they are not repeated. So the young man that called, it was in order. INEC must do something very serious to ensure that people are not unnecessarily disenfranchised. They should do.
Hello. Ifeanyi.
Yeah, I'm calling from Anambra.
Okay, Ifeanyi, you're calling from Oba. Make your ask a question or make your contribution.
My contribution, first of all, I want to thank Anthony for his relation to this.
Thank you.
And I want to complain of this permanent voter card. Because now, the problem we have there is that if you register here now, the adventure is going to somewhere. You will not have the chance, they will not allow you to vote, but it is a permanent voter card. Because of the mistake you did not register from that particular situation. Then another thing again is that I thank Martin because of what he's saying about the ethnicity. That is why you are having much problem. If you have a bad character and you have to you are from leader because of this ethnic, they will not vote you or because of the party influence. If we can make our Nigeria good, we have to disengage ourselves from ethnicism or favor of religion or denomination issues. That is my contribution. Thank you, Mr. Martin, and all of you.
Thank you, Ifeanyi from Oba. Okay, Council, you've heard him, and you were saying something before I asked you to wait for his...
Yes, as I was saying before, INEC should also make sure that they educate their officials very well, especially these ad hoc officials of INEC. Because you find out that most of these ad hoc officials of INEC, most of them do not actually know what to do. You find out that it will be a case of a blind man leading another blind man. So if an official of INEC is not well schooled with respect to how the election should be carried out, how can he direct others as per what to do?
Hello. Hello, yeah, your name?
Hello.
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 Hello. We are hearing you. Your name and location.
Hello.
Hello, we are hearing you. We are hearing you.
Innocent from Asaba.
Okay, Innocent from Asaba. Go ahead.
From Asaba.
But you may have to tune down a little bit the volume of your TV set so that we can hear you clearly. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
What I want to say,
INEC we have now, we don't trust INEC now. If you vote finish, our vote not count. So you are afraid of coming out and vote again.
Okay, at least he needs to be counseled lawyer, talk to him, and some other people who have this mindset already, that if after voting the vote doesn't count, people are disappointed. A lot of things like that. Maybe some of them have taken the decision not coming out again to vote. So what's your response to that?
This issue is not peculiar with him. There are so many people who have told me personally that they will not go out and vote during the forthcoming governorship and the House of Assembly elections, merely because they feel that their votes did not count during the last presidential elections. I sympathize with them because in reality, it's very painful when you stand under the sun and under the rain to ensure that you play your part with respect to selection of the people that will lead you within the next 4 years.
Okay, go ahead.
And at the end of the day, you find out that the whole thing amounts to nothing. You have a legitimate cause to be angry and to be annoyed, but notwithstanding.
Can we join this caller to that? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, your name and location. Hello, we are hearing you. What's your name? Your name and location. What's your name and location? Say, what's your name? You are calling from Nice. Chidi from Nice. Okay. Ask your question or make your contribution.
Yes. Nigeria or a country for a jungle.
Okay. The first question, people's mind has gone down so well, their mindset is down. That some people feel not like coming out again. And you addressing, is that enough for somebody to say, I will not go
as I was saying, they have a legitimate cause to be annoyed. But notwithstanding, you must come out, we must continue to try until the proper thing is done. If you stay away from the election merely because you feel that the INEC officials, that they did not do what they ought to have done or what they ought to do, you find out that the situation will continue to get worse. We have taken note and notice of your complaint, and as a lawyer, we will try as much as possible to make sure that we take your complaint to the appropriate quarters. We register your complaint to the INEC and to all other regulatory bodies to ensure that those issues that you complained of, that they are not repeated. So we are calling upon you to make sure that you try as much as possible to continue to exercise. It is your right to vote. And if you don't exercise your right to vote, you do not have any form of power to complain against the people that are in power. So your right to vote is your power to complain or to criticize those who are in authorities. Thank you.
So because we are not, time is not much on our side, in pure Igbo language, ameji maka mgbawu wee ghara ọgọ. Ameji maka nke a mere ma nke ọzọ mee wee sị na eme ahapụta mbọsị ade na-abịa abịa bịa pinye aka gị na onye ị chọrọ ka o jee